Yeah.
All right, Lee Gore, Smalkine Media, with Christina, his wife, the better half, probably the brains of the operation.
No, not really. I'll give it to him. He is. It is all him. I'm just as supportive.
All right, so let's go right into, because I lied. I said we're going to go right into Miami Swim Week. I wanted to bring you here. The timing was good. I've been wanting to bring you for a while. I think this is probably the best timing because you've always had a lot going on, but just fresh off of Miami Swim Week.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to hear about that. We're going to flash up some content that you generated from Miami Swim Week. We'll talk about how you got there. So when did you get back? Last week?
Yeah. I think
Did both of you
Wednesday?
Yeah, we got back, like last Wednesday.
Okay.
We were there for a good, 5-6 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did you go to shows every day?
Yeah, so I was booked for 4 shows, and yeah, it was a whole eye opener. I wanted to go to Miami to see basically how they do their shows versus how we do our shows out here. And when I say our shows out here, meaning Models of Texas, Texas Swim Fest, Texas Swim Week. And just to kind of see how they do theirs in reference to how we do ours here, because I've met a lot of videographers, photographers that came from Miami and elsewhere to some of our past shows, and yeah, it was amazing at the same time. Like, just so much going on. So it's like what they say, it's that chaotic. No, what's that word? What's that word where it's chaotic? Organized chaos.
Right.
And there was a lot of that going on.
So
Mine is the organization.
there wasn't not a lot of organization. So did you go to all the shows?
I
with
bowed
him?
out of one show because Miami is fast paced.
Yes.
So if you're not used to that fast pace, you will slowly find out that you need to catch up. So there was one night where I was like, I think I'm going to sit this one out. And it was one of the pool shows that he went to. Then towards the end, I was like, oh, I can go. But then he was just like, you're not missing much, so you can stay.
Yeah. And think about Miami Swim Week. Like, there is multiple shows every single day, like multiple shows.
Okay.
So it's so many. Like I think it's too many.
Yeah.
But understanding what Miami Swim Week is, it really started basically, it was Miss Bikini US, and they would kind of open up for Miami Swim Week. But for some reason this year, I mean, I know the reason, just don't want to say it, but this year it's reversed. So what typically Miami Swim Week would be in July now was toward the ending of May, beginning of June.
Right.
And so now coming up in July is Miss Bikini US. And that's usually for like folks that have like the fitness bods and things like that. But yeah, they represent, and they going out to basically representing, and it's more or less a title show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So what I think what a lot of people want to know, especially photographers, how did you get there? Did you get asked? What led up to the events of you getting booked at multiple shows at Miami Swim Week?
So it was pretty easy, actually. And all I did was I emailed the production.
Mm-hmm.
I would see this, and I cannot forget, there's this one guy, and you probably seen it too. He has an ad that goes on in, I want to say, IG and I think Facebook, where he comes up and, he has a secret to get booked at Miami Swim Week.
Yeah.
How to get booked and possibly paid, right? And get paid. Really, truthfully, all you got to do, just like how you would see all the castings that they have, you just knowing to email the production, hey, I'm a media or photographer, videographer. I would love to shoot your production and such date. they would normally they'll send you a request form. You fill it out. You still have to pass their criteria.
Right.
And I want to say that it's not guaranteed, but I want to say like they will look through your Instagram and your platforms to see if you're suitable to shoot their show. So it was easy. They normally came back saying approved, and then they'll give you like all the requirements that
Now, did you just email a bunch of different production groups? Was it like applying for college? You just applied to a bunch of them to see if you can get into one? Or,
truthfully, yes. Actually, it was. And, I think there was one that I didn't get approved for. They said it was like...
Well, clearly there was something wrong with them. Right?
Obviously, but it was like Miami Tape or something. It was another, not Black Tape Project, but it was another one that...
knockoff.
Yeah, actually, that other one, they do great work. Yes. So he hit me back, basically stating, they were good. They had enough media, and so I was like, okay, yeah.
So tell me what, for the both of you, I want to pull you in a little bit. You go to you got it on your schedule, right? You go to the first show. What are you thinking? Now, do you have a media pass?
Yes.
Right? Do you have a media pass, or did you have to buy a ticket? Or
I was the assistant.
Okay, all right.
So that's the key. That's the key. So if you have an assistant,
that's what I want to know, because I have an assistant too.
So my wife is my assistant.
Right. Mine will be my wife as well.
Right. So I basically let them know, hey, I have an assistant. What is the criteria? Did she have to buy a ticket or anything like that? Right. 8 times out of 10, they're cool enough to the point where, just bring them, and then, but it's better to ask up front first to make sure that they are good, because at first I wasn't.
You don't want to both show up and then,
Right.
they don't let her in, and then you're really in big trouble, because then that puts you in a bad position. You're like, sorry, honey.
Exactly.
Come back to the hotel.
It's not going to be a nice conversation later on, right?
So one thing with that, though, I was overbooked, really. But I wanted to see who would accept me, for one, and then two, and then lay out my schedule to ensure that I'm at like the best shows or the good shows.
Right.
Now there is some really big shows versus more little shows, and it really defines, as far as the designers and brands, how much they pay into being at Miami Swim Week. So you got $20,000 shows versus $8,000 to $10,000 shows. So it just really depends on how much the buy-in is.
So do you think that your work with Texas Swim Fest, do you think that kind of helped get you in, since you had done some work there at some shows previously?
I think it did. Just having that background and experience in doing shows, period, fashion shows, runways, definitely helped a lot. And then meeting some of the photographers and videographers that came from Miami or New York up to Texas, where we had Texas Swim Week, and then some models. Well, really just Texas Swim Fest or Texas Swim Week. That was more. We had more nationwide, look. So people were coming from all over, and then just linking arms with some of those folks, kind of basically asking them, hey, which shows are the good shows, which shows I should stay away from, things like that. So just getting that experience, and that's what I needed. That's what I wanted, just to basically going outside of Texas and then kind of displaying my content outside of Texas. So it's not just Texas.
Networking. Did you meet?
Oh yeah, lots. I think network is probably one of the biggest things why folks go down there, is to network.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, I want to get your view.
Now I was just going to say, for Lee, what was the push for you to go outside of your circle here in San Antonio?
So one of the biggest push was my management. My manager, Sierra, shout out to Sierra, Concrete Rose Talent Management. She said that I needed, the type of work that I do, I needed to expand and look beyond just Texas. Because the first 2 years that since we moved from Hawaii, I've been building. At least for that first year, I've been building, and I've been building hard and networking with folks, trying to get my name out there, what's and who Smalkine Media is. And now that I've pretty much done that, now it's time for me to network and look outside of Texas and start doing outside work, just so folks can know who I am. And so that was the real push for that when Sierra told me, like, oh yeah, you're ready. Like, you need to start doing outside work.
So 2 really great pieces of advice for photographers, videographers, whatever they might be. The first one we touched on, the jobs, the opportunities are not always going to fall into your lap. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yep.
You have to ask. You have to promote yourself.
Yes.
You have to send those emails to whether they be brands, promoters, production companies. If you're sitting there as a photographer or videographer and going, I am so good, look, I have this huge Instagram following, you'd be surprised how many people don't call you.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right. You
That's
have
true.
to go out and get it, and you have to pitch yourself, right?
That's it.
To these people. So that's lesson number 1. I don't care how good you are. The work is not going to come to you. You have to go get it.
Exactly.
The second one is if you are doing it full time, right? And this is a full time thing for you at this point,
Yes,
right?
it is.
If you are doing it full time, do not limit yourself. Why are you going to limit yourself to San Antonio, for example?
Exactly.
Why not network? Start making some contacts in Miami, in LA, in New York. Look for those opportunities, right, to go out there. And maybe, a little bit of it, maybe you have to use some of your own coin to get out there initially.
Of course. Yes.
But if the payoff in the long run, you're looking at the long game, right? There could be a payoff to that. So,
And you're so correct on that. Like, I don't typically look at how much I'm going to get paid right now. Like, I may do some collaboration, I may do some networking, and yeah, it's going to take some money out of my own pocket to go out there and network. But I'm looking at the networking piece, because the payoff at the end is going to be so much more immense and better.
Right.
Because we were meeting so many folks. I mean, we're talking about producers of the shows. And so that goes a long way. So when you link arms with them, they're going to remember. And if your work is good, guess what? They're going to call you. Or when that time comes, you hit them up and they're going to remember you. And then, it will be between you and them if they decide to have you as one of the house photographers or videographers, and that's where you'll get paid, you know? So, so yeah, you just never know. But for me and my wife, networking is the key, because your network worth is your net worth.
yeah.
Right? So the bigger your network, it's going to come.
Yeah. So much good advice already.
Yeah.
So tell me, Christina,
Yes.
the shows that you did attend,
Yes.
what were they like for you? When you guys get there, you get in, you're probably traveling light, right? Not carrying a ton of gear, or were you carrying too much stuff? I want to bring her into this, but it looks like maybe he was carrying too much stuff, because I've looked into this too, and they say, don't bring a big ass tripod with you. If anything, a monopod and maybe 2 cameras at the most.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. Don't bring all your crap with you, right? So
Yeah, he had all his stuff in a backpack that
You
he
bring too
always
much?
wear. I don't think
You
he
did
brought
good?
too
Okay.
much. I just think that, let's just talk about the parking situation in Miami is completely different than what we anticipated, because there's, unlike here where you can just park at businesses, establishments and whatnot. In Miami, they're going to charge you everywhere you park, especially in the part we were staying at. So poor Lee would have his backpack with all his gear, and that, how much do you think that just your backpack weighs? At least like 50 pounds.
Nah, it's a little bit more than that. Probably like about
really
between
heavy.
60 and 70
It's really
pounds.
heavy.
Like I felt like I was back in the army.
I was thinking,
Yeah,
I felt like I was back in the
marching.
army, and there were some times where
I was gonna say, you know how to do that, right? You
Right.
remember?
So I had that on, and it was hot. Like, literally, it was hot. And
yeah, so it was
how far did you have to walk?
Yeah, so it just depends on what parking we could find, because
so you were wore out by the time you got to the show.
No, I would say after. I would say after.
After,
because all the shows were in the evening, but it just after, because all the shows got out late.
Yeah.
And so, we would, and then the weekends are the worst, because it's hard to find parking out in South Beach area, and that's where we were. We were at South Beach, and so
you get in, secure your spot.
Yeah.
Was that tough? Did you have to?
So the first show, we were surprised in where the location was, because it was like
in a mall.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So it was in a mall, and it was like, I guess it's also production. They also do like different types of production there. Like you can go in and you can rent it out.
It's a creative space.
Yes.
It's a big creative space on the 8th floor in a mall.
I'm just thinking, okay, so AC?
Yes. It had AC.
It did have AC. The view was really beautiful where it was.
Windows everywhere.
Where the windows were, but lighting wise for photographers probably wasn't ideal from what Lee was explaining to me. And because the sun was like setting right there, coming in, so the glare off of that. So once it turned into nighttime, it got a little bit better. But I'm trying to be nice about this show we saw, because it was not at a level where we were okay. So it being our first show in Miami, we're expecting it to be this big production,
right?
And we're expecting the girls to be on a whole nother level, to the designers, to the organization, to everything, and then it was not at all. So our feedback to each other after the show was basically like, not only are we doing a great job here in Texas when we're running our shows, but we're probably above average in comparison to, if this is how all the shows are going to be, which we weren't trying to say all of them were going to be like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say shocked. It was just
disappointing.
It was very disappointing. It was a long show.
Gosh.
It was a very long show. I think it started at 6:30, and by 9 o'clock, we were ready to call it quits. And they still had 2 more designers that needed to come out.
Right.
And at that point, I'm like,
was it just the quality of the show? I mean, the models, the lighting. What was it? The designs? Was it all just
all the above?
The designs. I think the designs were there.
Yeah,
just
they were,
the models.
They were good.
So it was, and we don't want to put any names out there, but it was a production that pretty much accepts anybody and everybody.
Okay.
Which I respect.
That's
awesome. You got to have that.
And you have to pay to play to be walking in that show as a model.
Okay.
And the tickets were $150.
So how much did the models have to pay?
$300. They had to purchase 2 tickets.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So they had to pay for one.
But that's not the standard.
Well, that's going to be my question, because
that's not.
Every production is different, and it just really depends on that production. And
there's a lot of controversy about getting paid as a model,
exactly,
as a photographer, just people in the creative industry, right?
Exactly.
And paying to be in shows rather than getting paid that's a hot button for a lot of
models. Don't get paid.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, models. I'm gonna say this: models do not get paid. Who makes all the money? The productions make the money. Who does the buy-in mainly is the brands and designers pay into it to be on there. Now, they utilize all these models for that platform,
right?
Because either they're Fashion Nova models or they're Instagram models or
influencers.
Fashion models. Now, it's a thing, again, to be in a production or a show, especially like the big shows.
Right.
Now, again, we don't know what production pays who. But majority of them do not pay.
I'm thinking some of the more experienced models come in,
Possibly.
well-known.
Possibly, but then
in order to draw them in,
right,
they might have to pay them something, right?
And that would be that production producer or whoever versus that model. Right. Nobody else knows.
Yeah, and that usually goes back to them having a manager. So the model themselves will not ever have to deal with that
so they have someone to advocate for them and negotiate.
Yes, so the models that are higher in the industry and have made a name for themselves, they don't normally negotiate for their own pay and contracts and whatnot. That would be,
their agency,
and whoever is in charge of them. So we thought the same thing as you, like, well, why aren't they getting paid? All these models are the face. Without them, we couldn't have the show. But as a production team, we found out, and as a designer, it is a privilege and an honor for you to be able to walk for those brands and or that production and it's kind of a controversy, right?
Still a hot button.
Yeah, it's a very hot button.
A lot of people would disagree with that, especially around here.
Yes.
Models want to get paid,
Well, everybody wants to get paid, right?
And
but especially the models.
It's bullshit selling tickets to whatever, blah, blah, blah. I hear that all the time, right?
Yep, and then they have that too. So it just really depends on that production. Now,
again,
who makes that money? The production company is making a buku money off of the folks.
And so what we found out in doing things like Miami, working one-on-one with our designer from Hawaii, is there are a lot of perks for the models other than actually getting paid. Like there's free photography, there's videos, there's
content.
the
Exposure.
The exposure, the content. A lot of the designers will even let the models keep their
don't say the word exposure.
Yeah, their clothing and whatnot. So it's
like what we talked about earlier.
It's a lot.
You're going to the show, right? And you're not necessarily getting paid.
No.
For this show because you're looking at
the bigger picture.
The bigger picture,
Yep.
exactly. Like I said earlier, the long game, and I think maybe some of that applies here as well.
Yeah, I'm for both sides. Like I get that the models also deserve to be recognized and they should get paid, but from what we found out, that for I don't know who makes the rules or where it came from or how it came to be, but yeah, the feedback we keep getting over and over again is models do not get paid, period. And I'm like, okay.
And then there are some production companies that are in a feud. If you know what I'm saying, like, okay, like, not saying that you're better than me or I'm better than you. It's very competitive. They, especially like the bigger ones, they're trying to up their game every single time, and then you have some where like they may travel, like they may do Miami, LA, New York, London, and we go to Miami, not to mention any names, but we go to Miami and like we're very disappointed in how the show was.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, that's just so
But not
crazy.
all of them. There's one in particular, right?
Yeah.
So did you do both photography and videography?
I did.
Did you try to capture, see if it was me and I was going, I'd be like, I'm going to have this thing. I'm going to capture as much of the show on video as I can, but then I'm going to be over here snapping some shots and I'm going to be like, honey, get some shots too.
So the very first show that I was disappointed, I started out doing some video.
Reels and just anything else.
I was, but then I was like, I was just disappointed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm stopping that and I'm just going to shoot.
Save it for a better show.
Right, exactly. And that's what happened. But for all the other shows, I did video.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because there were so many photographers.
Is that your comfort zone, video? Versus what do you like better? And how did you start? Have you always been a video guy?
No, I was not. So photography I started, and that was back in Hawaii. And, I started out landscaping, doing landscapes, like scenery. And then...
and using natural light.
So, we pretty much all do that. We start off shooting the dog and the kids and the family in the backyard and scenery and then you get on YouTube and you're like, oh, the real photographers are doing off-camera flash. Okay, I need to get into that before you really learn how to use natural light.
And I didn't even know and I never did off-camera flashes. I did natural light in Hawaii until I came here. That's when I learned all the strobes. That's when I learned studio work.
Yeah.
Because in Hawaii, your scenery, your outdoors was your studio.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfection, right? Don't mess with it.
Right.
That's kind of how we cross paths because we're both shooting out at Black Goose.
Yes, Black Goose.
And I remember we started following each other. I don't know who's followed who first, but we started following each other, and you were using that little ring light in there just to light, turn off the overheads, like these nasty, because they had these nasty yellowish lighting in there, you know. And I saw you posted a video, and I was like, hey, I use the same damn ring light for the same reason, right? Because of those lights are horrible, right?
Right.
Fluorescent.
And then at first I saw yours too. I was like, "Hey, that looked like Black Goose." I'm like, "Yo, we utilize the same studio."
Yep.
Until they closed down.
I know it was the best deal in town.
Oh my gosh!
But look what it forced you guys to do, though, because you no longer had access to that, or at least for Lee, anyways. I don't know about you, Greg, but it pushed him again and out of his comfort zone to say, "Well, let me." Either go, he had another backup studio, but then he ended up linking arms with this other person, and now
Brock,
and now they have a studio together, and it was the best decision or choice that he could have made.
That's only because Greg turned me down. No, I'm messing.
I'm messing
with you.
So I mean, I don't know.
I'm hoarding my space right now.
I'm messing with you.
And or the location too, because where the location is, where you have the studio, is maybe more ideal for you. But I mean, it forced him. It forced him, and there was this discussions that we had, and he was like, "Well, what do you think of this studio versus this one?" And then he kind of went back and forth, and we talked about like the financial obligation that he essentially would have with the other studio, and it just didn't make sense. It made more sense for him to partner with Brock because of the way the studio is laid out in the conference area and whatnot. So it was a decision we made together, but I feel like had Black Goose not shut down, then he still would have been sharing the studio. And based on the calendar, and not always ideal if someone before you doesn't do the right thing and clean up behind themselves, because there's been situations where we walked into and we were just like,
there's no white paper. There's never any white paper over there, right? Or if it was, it
it's
had
dirty.
Dirty.
Exactly.
But she really pushed me into really doing it, and I was like, okay.
All right, switching gears. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, let's get to. You guys have a big announcement. You've already made the announcement, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the big deal that you have.
Oh my
coming
gosh!
up with it's SewHi. Is that how?
SewHi. Yep, SewHi Kinis.
So tell me about that.
Okay.
Let's get into it, and we'll definitely put some content out.
So SewHi Kinis, they're out of Hawaii. Her name is Kanani, and her husband named Moki, and she designs all her bikinis, all her swimwear, basically her clothing brand or clothing line, but it's SewHi Kinis. And we met her actually we met the brand.
Brand representative
in Houston.
Yeah,
I didn't know. Like,
interesting.
Right. This is how crazy it is. So
this is where networking comes into play at its finest.
So all I saw was SewHi Kinis out of Hawaii, and I'm like, oh my God, we actually have a brand coming all the way from Hawaii, and I was so stoked because it's my home state. I'm proud represent and. So we get there.
Well, you immediately have something to talk about too.
Exactly.
Oh yes,
to break the ice. So you're
Yes.
already in.
Right? Exactly. So we go to Houston. We're doing the Texas Swim Fest, and I'm texting my wife. I say, "Hey, did you meet the Hawaii designer?"
Because I'm in the back with the models.
Right. Did you meet the Hawaii designer yet? Because I want to meet her and stuff. And so she said, "No, she's not here. She has a representative." And I'm like, what? A representative? So, which is an amazing representative. Like, she's in like everything. And so, so I meet the representative. Her name is Casey. Shout out to Casey. And
Casey Bass.
Oh, she's amazing. She represented SewHi at Texas Swim Fest because Kanani couldn't make it, and so I met Casey, and then we started talking, chit chatting, and then she gave me Kanani's information, and then she went back and told Kanani about us, and we connected. We started talking, connected, and then we found out that she wanted to do Dallas, and she was coming this time.
Yeah.
So during Dallas Swim Week, she came out, flew, we connected, and then as we started talking, we started talking before, bro, how she's basically my cousin. We grew up on the same street, same town. Like, we were kids.
You probably met.
No, they did.
No, we did.
Okay.
But they
did.
There's a couple years difference.
Yeah, that's it. But like, her mom knows my family
Yeah.
and everything. And like, it was so unreal. Like, it was crazy. And
Yeah,
so,
and this part of Hawaii, nobody lives in that part. Like, it's not the part of Hawaii that they talk about on the Travel Channel. No, it's not. You would never go
Countryside.
to this part of the island, like, ever.
So we call it Waimanalo, which is the countryside. Now we call it Nalo. I'm a Nalo boy. So shout out to Waimanalo, my hometown out there in Oahu. But yeah, we grew up on the same street. Like,
Wow.
we were just reminiscing and talking about who we knew and all this stuff, and it was just crazy. And then, like, instantly we were like this. We were like just instantly like family. Like, we are family. And so Dallas was amazing. You know, we linked up in Dallas, and then at Fireside, we find out the co-owners of Fireside came out of Hawaii as well.
Oh, wow.
So it kept getting even more better.
It's starting to be like, it's almost a conspiracy.
I
All
man.
roads lead to Hawaii.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh my God, our God is wonderful. Like, it's just like all these, he's putting people in path that we're connecting, and it's like, it's amazing.
Be.
It was meant to be. And so, yeah, which led to what we're doing now, and it's just, oh my gosh. I mean, are we going to talk about that?
Yeah.
You were doing casting
Yes.
on the June 22nd
Yes.
in San Antonio for...
So we are doing a Hawaii we're looking for a Hawaii or how should we say? It's a Hawaii destination model ambassador. So somebody that is going to represent SewHi Kinis out of Hawaii. And
they're going to be from Texas.
Yes, or it could be really
Anyone that can come to
anywhere,
Texas.
anybody that can come to Texas, because this is where we're at right now. So,
First one will be in San Antonio.
yes,
So there's going to be more than one?
yes, so that's the secret. So actually, by the time
It's not a secret anymore.
yeah, it won't be a secret. But yeah, so we're gonna open it up. So San Antonio, so June 22nd, we're gonna have our first casting.
Yeah.
We are going to open it up to a couple of more cities. So other folks in the other cities have a chance to make it on those other dates, but we haven't really solidified those other dates yet, but we will, and we will put it out. But yet we're going to be going to Dallas. We're going to go to Austin, Corpus Christi, and Houston.
Okay. What attributes embody the ideal candidate for this ambassadorship?
That's a great question. You want to take that?
No, you
Are
take
you
it.
thinking
I think
about
there's some
it?
very specific things that you guys have in
Yeah,
mind that you're
there
looking for,
is.
right?
So for anyone who saw the video that Lee had put out, or that we put out, we did a live kind of just explaining for those who don't know, what the spirit of aloha means. So anyone who's been to Hawaii or has ever known anyone from Hawaii always leaves with this warm feeling about that person. Like, they're just very caring, very giving, very family oriented.
That's correct.
And so the spirit of aloha is never about you as an individual. It's always about sharing kindness and love with others, right? And so when I first, we went to Hawaii first, kind of like our honeymoon, but we brought our whole family because that's the spirit of aloha.
Right.
You want to always share your experiences with others and give to others, right? You never think of self. You always think of others. And when you go to Hawaii, you feel it. Like, when you land in Hawaii, you feel the spirit of giving and loving and kindness from everyone, complete strangers who become your aunties and your uncles. And it's just, they embrace you with open arms. And when I first met Lee and realized that he was like that, and then when we went home to Hawaii, I was like, I get it. I understand more of why you are the way that you are. And it just speaks volumes of him as a person. But it also, for those who are looking to represent this brand, this designer, it is so important for them to really dig into themselves and really ask themselves, who am I? What do I represent? And what can I offer with this designer that's going to showcase that part of me and kind of just tie it all in together. And it's really important to the designer as well, because like Lee said, she's born and raised. She exudes aloha from every part, to who she is, to her designs, who are very unique, all handmade, individualized for each person. There's no suit that will ever be exactly the same. And I just think it's, that person needs to represent like everything about that, the uniqueness that she also has. So this is going to be interesting to see.
She said everything right there. Like,
yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they bring it.
so,
yeah, I'm
and
excited.
we're gonna ask some questions. So
Yeah.
it's not just, okay, you come and you're walking like you're doing at a fashion show or a runway. No, this is not a runway contest. This is not a fashion contest.
So who should not apply?
Those
Right.
folks that don't embody those right there.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's not about your walk
Nope.
down a
No.
runway.
Nope.
No.
It's not necessarily about you're the most successful or maybe the most beautiful person,
Right.
right?
Yep.
There's got to be more to you, right?
Inner beauty.
Inner beauty, and that's what we're looking at.
Inner
Beauty and
strength.
how well they answer those questions, not only in the application of why you should be chosen, but I'm going to ask them some questions as well, because we want that person. I mean, literally, Greg, we are sponsoring that model for free.
Yep.
We're paying their way out there, transportation, lodging, everything. And so we want the right person to represent. You know what I mean?
That's
and so,
why you want them there in person too,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Right, right.
There's
Yep.
no remote
No,
casting,
nope.
and I can see why based on what both of you told me.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta, like for me anyway, I can't get that feeling from somebody, that vibe that I'm looking for, unless I'm
Correct.
sitting in the room with them and I can feel their energy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, that's correct.
And even like what Lee was saying, aside from the money, obviously money, you need money to do these, amazing gifts to others. But really it's about connecting with that person, because by connecting with them and feeling that connection, we're going to be spending a lot of time, obviously, with whoever wins, right? So
Right.
we don't necessarily want just like, it's amazing that you look a certain way, but if you don't embody the attitude and the aloha spirit we're looking for, then it's an easy no.
Yeah.
Easy no.
Okay.
I don't care about the money. The money comes, money goes, but
Right.
spending that time and that energy with that special person, that's forever. That's a long-term like family member that we're going to be treating that
Right.
model like. And you can apply too, Greg, if you want.
I was. That's exactly what was going. Can you read my mind? That's
I mean,
exactly what I was thinking. I was
I
like,
can
man,
sense your
think
energy.
Yeah, I want to apply.
Let's do it.
She's a mind reader.
Yeah,
She an empath?
does, yes.
I am an
yes.
empath. Yes, thank you
Because
for
that's
asking.
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I'm going to tell them next that I'm going to apply. I'm going to make that
Yes,
joke, right? And then you
absolutely.
said that.
You should
I'm
do it.
suspicious.
You
So
should
she
do
does.
it.
She does make speedos. I mean, she does make. But I think for this one, for this particular one, she's looking for a female. For right now, to see how this goes. But
Right.
I believe for the next one, it
For
will.
future.
It'll most likely be opened up for male and females to kind of give, but she just want to try it out with one female for right now.
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool if we could pick one female and one male. That would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
so dope. But
Or, extra photographers too. You never know.
And we
I'm going to be following this
And-
because I'm going to be
Yes.
real interested to see who ends up winning this thing.
Yeah.
and so probably for future, I would love to have somebody that can probably come with us. I mean, we would have to like put that in the budget, of course, but just to kind of document that. I'm not saying I can't do it, but I would love for somebody else to document as we continue that journey, other than me doing it. You know,
it's hard to do everything. Believe me, I know.
Right.
I just went through a little bit of that where I was trying to do photo and trying to do video and trying to capture everything, and then trying to be part of the process as well.
Right. Yeah, it's a challenge, but
so yeah, I'll volunteer for that.
But yeah, it's
we would love to have you, Craig.
Okay.
So we got that coming up, and that's really big. So that's what we're looking for, and
literally,
we're gonna find them. We're gonna find the right person.
Right before coming here, Greg actually got to see some behind the scenes and literally was booking the rooms. And we had to delay this podcast just momentarily because I had to solidify
the
hotels because Hawaii is always booked up. And the time, depending on how quickly you do decide to go, you need to book your rooms like ASAP because those rooms do not last.
But just keep in mind that Hawaii is beautiful all year round, so
it is.
But there is a peak time and a non-peak time. So
for sure.
All right, very good.
Excited
very good.
for this.
I'm excited to see how this goes.
You know what I'm the most excited for? We have no idea we know what we're looking for, but we have no idea what's about to come.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at what they're going to bring and how we're going to pick and choose based off of what lead.
Yeah. The only advice I'll give you is make sure you establish some legal disclaimers up front.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
When you're dealing with the public,
yes,
you get all kinds of people.
That's
all I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah. And we've
good
already
and the bad.
And we've already been getting some of those now, and it's crazy. But
which is why we had to extend the 22nd to other parts of Texas because
But the casting is free, right? You just got to get there.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You just got to get there and show up.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, if
what
you
can people expect when they get to the casting? I drive up to the casting, say I want to go.
Yep. So
I drive up. I'm there at the location.
What to expect?
What happens?
Yeah. So you go ahead and change into your bikini or a mankini, however you want to do, and
monokini.
You have already applied and registered, but you're gonna register on site. You're gonna get a number so we can match video, face with application, and you might get a couple of questions for each. I'm just putting it out there. Because it's not where we see you, no questions asked, and then that's it. No, I want to be able to hear from you and the way you answer certain questions. Questions are not going to be hard, but you're going to have to think a little bit. And there's a question on the application: why should you be chosen?
Yeah.
Some of you already have written some really good answers, and then some of you just
skipped it.
I'm not saying skip it, but you didn't really put any thought into it. I'm going to tell you now, those are the ones that we're not looking for.
Yeah, you're going to filter those out immediately.
Oh, exactly. So,
that tells you a lot right there, how much effort that they're willing to put into it from the beginning. If they're not willing to put the effort into the application and answer the question, thoroughly, thoughtfully, what are you going to get out of them later?
Yeah, and fun fact, so in talking to our designer from Hawaii, Kanani, she was saying with these bigger shows that the models, they do, when they do the casting calls in person, they do ask them questions. And it's not necessarily to do what we're doing, but it's to see their confidence level. You know, are they shrugging down? Are they, how are they speaking? How is their command presence when asked certain questions? So some models are used to being asked questions because that is the best way that you can kind of gauge and see what, you're looking for. Is that not necessarily stage presence per se, but when you're asked things on the fly, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it, some people aren't good at talking in public, and not to take anything away from them, but as Lee said, we're kind of preparing them that that might be the case for some of the models. So just do the best you can.
And be prepared.
Yeah.
Do some research. What aloha means. So they can do their research, and so you're better fitted. You're better fit when you come to the casting and then you get a question like, why should you be chosen?
Yeah. What makes you special or different or
Yep. So I mean, we've already put out a few things, so I would hope that some folks would take heed to what we're saying, and then you know.
So look at the reel they just put out. By the time you see this, it will be about a week old, probably.
Right. Yes.
Both of them together just put out a reel, and they explain pretty much everything as well on that too. So
yes,
I would watch that, and must be 18.
Yes.
Looking for female, 18 or older.
18 plus. Yep.
Yeah, 18 or older.
Yeah, and they can bring another person if they want to. Of course, that would be a cost that they would have to incur on their own. But the main model, of course, everything will be covered for them.
Yeah.
So we're not stopping them from, you know, if you feel more comfortable with bringing a partner. I mean, because who doesn't want to go to Hawaii, right?
Yeah, everybody's going to want to bring someone with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you know, the accommodations. An assistant. There you go.
There you go.
So we are taking all those things into consideration, as well as the time factor of when we're going to be going out there, and hopefully it ties into what their schedule can accommodate as well. So there's a lot of flexibility in what we're able to offer, as well as hopefully they're flexible as well. You know, it's a relationship, right? Take and give and take. So yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.